Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Kylie Ruscheinski, and I'm a director of the Uptown Business Center, which is run by Uptown United and is a partner agency of the Uptown Chamber of Commerce. Today, I'm going to talk about building your small business team and how some upfront investments, particularly when building the team for your small business, can result in a lot of cost savings and growth for your business in the long run. While not every team member I cover today is going to make sense for every business on this call, I hope this will give you an idea of where professional services and other partners can help you and your business succeed and grow. And if nothing else, it's a reminder that you don't have to do everything all by yourself. For additional planning and support when it comes to you and your small business, I'm also going to cover the Chicago Business Center program, which I am a part of, at the end of this presentation to talk about other ways we can work together in the future. Okay, so your team is likely going to include a mix of hourly support, contracted services, and full-time team members. I'm going to give you a brief overview over each of these positions, and there will be plenty of time for questions about this and other services at the end. But for a lot of you, your team is going to include a combination of bankers and financial partners, accountants and bookkeepers, real estate brokers and attorneys, a variety of lawyers and legal services, insurance agents and services, IT specialists, marketing professionals, including digital marketing and social media consults, human resources support and onboarding staff assistance, the staff and team members and yourself, and for some of you, the Chicago Business Center program. Starting with bankers, almost all of you will engage with a banker or financial partner in some way throughout your small business journey. No matter what you go forward with and your business entity type, it's always important to keep your personal and business finances separate. Opening a business bank account where you separately keep all of your business income and pay out business expenses is a great place to start. This is important because, especially if you're not a sole proprietorship, you want to make sure you're tracking all the income and the money management, and you don't want to blend your personal expenses into the business side and vice versa. It's going to make long-term record keeping and paying your taxes much easier. While some folks will have a much more casual relationship with your banker, occasional check-ins providing updates on the state of your business, especially when you're connected through a lending program or preparing to do so, is important. The banker can also help you think about economic trends. They can help you with creating your business account, and if there's relevant promotions, oftentimes business banking will have increased interest rates in savings accounts or other promotions that would make sense to take advantage of. They can often be planners and advisors, especially if you're getting ready to navigate the loan process. A lot of banks are going to have both their internal lending programs, and in Chicago, most of them are connected to the SBA lending process as well. They can help you figure out which application makes the most sense for you. And for a lot of businesses, especially when starting out, cash flow is a challenge. Don't forget about lines of credit and other opportunities to ensure you have cash on hand. Your small business banker is going to be a resource for that. And as a general rule of thumb, it's better not to wait until you're instantly in need of cash or a loan. Being upfront with your banker and thinking about the next year and the next 5 years can help you get ahead of situations where you're then in a time crunch to get cash or to move forward. Accountants and bookkeepers, I'm putting on one slide because oftentimes services will do both, but everyone needs some sort of assistance when it comes to the books of your business. It's important to either invest, even if it's short-term, in a training or to have long-term services on hand. And what I mean by that is I know many bookkeepers who will charge for 1 or 2 hours to help you set up your spreadsheet system or train you on QuickBooks Online or other processing systems. And then if you want to be the one doing the day-to-day record keeping, that's totally fine. Some business owners like to be the one inputting all this information, and others prefer to be as hands-off with it as possible. If nothing else, when it comes to them and other team members, your most valuable asset is your time, and bookkeeping can be a time-consuming process. There can be value in having outside help so that you can focus on other things or spend your time on other aspects of running the business. I'll note that even if you hire full-time outside help, whether through contracting a bookkeeping or accounting agency or bringing someone in-house, you as the business owner need to regularly check your own books and have insight into your business financials. Even if it's only once a month, checking your cash flow statements, your profit and loss and a balance sheet so you get a sense of what the projections are for your business. You, at the end of the day, are the one responsible for compliance, for paying taxes, and for knowing what's going on with your business's financials. That's not to say you have to do it all yourself, but make sure you have time built in to check on your own status as well. The more tracking and systems you invest in upfront, the easier it's going to be for you to meet deadlines like taxes, reportings, collecting documents for loan applications. Even many grant programs require some of these statements or tax returns from previous years in order to apply and be eligible for funding. So when in doubt, have more information now, have your systems in place so that you know exactly where each transaction needs to be recorded. And when you are applying for a grant that's due the next day, you're not spending all your time compiling your documents together. I will note that when you're thinking about tracking and working with an accountant, working with the small business banker I mentioned on the previous slide, bankers and accountants often have different goals, even though they're both supporting you and your business. At the end of the day, an accountant's primary responsibility to you is to help you file your taxes and to reduce your overall tax burden as an entity. That often means writing off things where it makes sense and minimizing the income that you bring in as a business in terms of reporting. Banks, however, when they're assessing you for lines of credit, for lending opportunities, for long-term promotions, want to see increased income over time, large amounts of revenue being pulled in. However, that does mean higher tax payments. So it's important to check in with both of them and let them know if you foresee a loan application in the near future or the long term so that you can all be on the same page about what that means for your day-to-day and your long-term planning. Again, both are following all the laws and they're working with you and helping to support you and your bookkeeping. But if you know you foresee a loan, you want to make sure your accountant isn't writing everything off possible if it's going to hurt your cash flow statements and the profit and loss you're bringing towards the bank when you're applying for a loan. And so I covered a lot of this, but as a reminder, accountants and bookkeepers are extra support for you to get a sense of what's happening with your business, to make sure your financial records and your day-to-day is accurate, to make sure you're complying with all tax and reporting requirements depending on your business type. They can also help prepare documents for you or help you set up systems where it's easy to gather materials for those loans and applications. And if nothing else, they will help you have accurate taxes at the end of each year. And when possible, you want to have all your documents and systems in place before the tax deadline is approaching. So for any of you that are going to be or already involved in physical real estate or property for your business, if your business is going to take place in a physical location, a real estate broker can be a great asset to you and your team. Commercial leases and residential leases are very different documents, and they require different sets of expertise to understand. We hear from a lot of business owners who enter into the real estate search or even the lease negotiations by themselves because they feel good about how they've negotiated and understood their own residential leases. But the things that they're agreeing to in a commercial contract are just a totally different ballgame. And if nothing else, you want someone else to give another set of eyes to your document so you fully understand what you're signing and committing to. For example, what is the true cost of your lease each month? For most business leases, you are not just paying the flat rent of the property, you're also paying a portion of the tax burden for the business itself. Are the utilities being split among multiple commercial suites? Will you be responsible for repairs to the HVAC or other expensive systems that keep your business running? Are you going to be working with someone in-house to make those repairs? How much can you alter the space? These are all things that are going to vary based on the lease terms and the tax payment structure built into it. A real estate broker can help you both find properties that make sense for your business, but they can also help you navigate that contracting process. Some brokers will have the full suite of services in-house, but note that some might also refer you to a commercial real estate attorney for the official lease negotiations and the final review of the contract documents. Another thing the broker or whoever's helping you negotiate your lease can assist with is adding additional protections into your lease agreement. Most leases are already going to require you to get some sort of insurance policy, which we'll cover later in the presentation, but they can also ensure that you have the option to renew your lease. Commercial leases are already much longer term agreements, but you want to make sure as the business that if you foresee yourself staying there for a while or want the option to stay longer term, that you have built-in renewals in your lease agreement, so you're not renegotiating this every few years. Something a lot of you will want to consider and that the broker can help you decide is also including the option to purchase in the lease agreement. Many of you are not going to own the business property that you're operating out of, but for some of you in longer term growth, you might want to invest in purchasing the property where you operate from. And so you want to make sure that the lease includes a protection for you to have the right of first refusal if the owner decides to bring the property onto the market. Again, this is something that might still happen long term, but if it's not put into the lease and not something you negotiate with the help of your real estate team, it might not be an option further down the line. Sometimes it's not a great real estate market, and so having that relationship with the broker can also help you understand the market trends and when it might make the most sense to approach, or which properties might have the best chance of negotiating agreements for a business. When it comes to finding real estate, I'll also highlight that along with a real estate team, your local Chamber of Commerce or Chicago Business Center, like we are, can also help you with the real estate search. We're going to have additional knowledge about our specific community areas, new properties coming online, or we'll have familiarity with what the property used to be. For those of you interested in or pursuing the retail food licensing to run a business that's a restaurant or a cafe, it can be super helpful to find properties that have already been built out to run as a restaurant. It'll save you a lot of the investment costs of bringing the property up to code. When it comes to legal protections and navigating the various laws of being a business owner, business owners are going to have numerous situations where the guidance and support from a lawyer will protect you for future liability and to make sure you're setting yourself up in the time you're signing documents or working and bringing on other partners. A lot of folks are hesitant to bring on a legal team up front because there is a cost associated, but you can also consider lawyers as long-term insurance and protection. And for many cases, you're not just protecting the business entity, you're protecting you yourself as the owner or the one providing services. I'll note here that many of the lawyers that work in small business services are specialized, so there's a chance you'll have multiple on your team. This is another instance where some will be short-term, one-off, a couple hours of billable services, and some you might want to keep on retainer depending on the type of business, or if you're constantly creating and signing new documents. Real estate attorneys, like I mentioned in the previous slide, can review your lease and negotiate changes. That might be something that the broker you're working with has, or you can seek those out. You might need a lawyer to create or review contracts and agreements, and this will vary. We have a lot of personal services businesses, everything from personal services like salons and barbershops to those providing financial guidance or consulting and other measures. They create contracts that their clients sign so that they have protections up front. They're agreeing to the terms of services, and you can agree on payment in a signed legal document. You might want contract agreements that are for all your new hires so that they're signing on to your standard procedures, especially if there's things that require confidentiality. A lot of businesses will have confidentiality contracts. And when in doubt, even if it's an hour of billable services, an attorney reviewing the language to make sure there aren't loopholes or that you're truly asking for what you intend to can make all the difference in the long run. For those of you, again, that are seeking physical space or depending on your business type, zoning attorneys are those that specialize in navigating the city processes that deal with the Department of Planning and Development and the Zoning Board of Appeals. This is especially true for those of you that will need special uses to operate salons, barbershops, masseuses, or gyms in certain districts. They can also help you or the building owner where you're trying to operate go through what's called a zoning change process to make sure that the activity you want to do at that site is legally compliant. Employment lawyers can help you address the various legal requirements at both the city, state, and federal levels to stay in compliance. I'll just note, even last year in July of 2024, the city changed its policies around paid leave, both for paid time off and sick leave. And so it can be worth having a lawyer who's familiar with the various employment policies review your employment practices so that you make sure you're still in compliance as things continue to change at the various levels of government. So once again, at its core, if you're on the fence about a lawyer or you don't know if a lawyer makes sense for you, legal advice is for providing guidance, setting up documents, and overall mitigating risk. So a short-term few hours billable might save you a lot more money in the long run if things come up where having those legal protections will make the process faster and more affordable for you. Okay, so insurance comes up a lot for all types of businesses. And that's because no matter what type of business you're operating, if you're going to work with employees or you're going to have yourself as an employee, you are legally required to have the insurances in bold on the slide: workers' compensation, unemployment, and disability. Liability insurance is going to be available for pretty much all of your business types. It can protect both you as an individual, your assets and goods, and your day-to-day operations. So professional liability is relevant to all of you, but especially those that are providing services as the individual. A lot of our medical practitioners, therapists, contractors, consultants, protecting you from the lawsuit or legal concerns, along with the business as itself. Employment practices, your products, if something happens to your physical space, so the property, even if you're the tenant and not the owner, in a lot of leases, you'll be the one responsible for those repairs. The insurance can help you make sure everything is covered. If you use a vehicle for any part of your business, not just those that are transporting goods or providing transportation, you're going to want commercial auto insurance. And I'll note that even for those of you that won't be physically in a commercial space, if you're operating from home, there are insurance policies for business owners that operate a home-based business. I'll also note that for any of you who will be seeking or already operating sidewalk cafes, or if you're going to have signage attached to your business that extends over the public way, so that it's if any part of your sign touches the sidewalk, the city is going to request proof of insurance with the city as an additional insured in order for you to permit and license those operations for your business. An insurance agent is one that it's worth investing time to have a good relationship with them, because they can also help you work through various scenarios where there might be different options for how you pursue claims for your insurance policy. Understanding the different charges or how your policy might go up in expense depending on what you're claiming can help you save money in the long term as well. So you want an insurance agent you trust to both have plan ahead, but in the moment when these issues come up, someone you can brainstorm the next steps with. Especially for our super small business owners and entrepreneurs, a lot of the bigger insurance plans might not make sense, and an a la carte personalized plan can be more beneficial. There are a variety of insurance brokers out there that can help you piece together a comprehensive insurance policy, even if you're pulling plans from different entities for different parts of your business. I'll also note it's worth meeting with a few different insurance providers to get a sense of their coverage and their policy plans. Depending on your business activity, some of those larger insurance agencies might not be able to cover your specific business. And again, that's where a broker can help, or it's worth talking to a few and thinking about what would be the best fit for you. And you might not be able to pay for as big of an insurance plan up front. That's totally fine. Make sure your mandatory insurance is covered. And even if you have smaller plans, for some of these other points on the screen, it's worth thinking about mitigating the costs in the long run. So these other team members are not always needed or tends to be even more often pushed to the side when you're starting your business, but I think they're worth highlighting as additional investments to protect you and to grow your business. Many of these services do have counterparts or providers that specifically exist for smaller businesses. So for example, when it comes to IT specialists, I am by no means saying to hire a full-time IT staff member in your office unless that makes sense for you. There are a lot of contractors who will maintain your online system, do security checks, and provide upgrades, but you don't have to pay for it all the time. Especially for those of you collecting client information, or if it's confidential, protected information, digital security is becoming more and more important, and it's going to become more of an expectation that all businesses, no matter their size, are investing in that type of protection. Digital marketing investments can lead to a lot more revenue. So for all of you, it's going to be a trade-off where you decide how much money you can invest up front. And it's important to be strategic with those investments, especially when you have smaller amounts to start. I'm going to talk about business centers a little bit more in a bit, but I'll highlight that a lot of the business centers and NBDC contracts, those chambers of commerce, can also help you navigate and make a strategy when it comes to how you're going to focus on digital marketing for your business. A lot of folks will even invest in an hour or two for someone to set up their website, especially when you're kind of trying to mitigate your costs. Just make sure that when you're talking to those tech support or website developers, that you're setting up a system that you can update yourself. A lot of the cost comes in for those that pay for websites that need constant professional maintenance or that need someone to code changes to the text, to the photos, to the images. You as the business owner are gonna want to be able to make those changes yourself, even if it's as simple as adding a new menu item or changing your hours. So keep that in mind as well. I'm also going to highlight that investing in digital marketing doesn't need to be a cost to your business. It might be a time investment, but you can start with the free upgrades and commitments to your business. A Google business profile is 100% free to set up and to change. You can add as much photos and information and updates as you want, and that's totally free and makes a huge impact on your visibility when people are searching for your type of business. Social media is also free for business accounts. That goes back to the time and the energy to focus on that aspect of your business. There are numerous services that will create all the social content for you and schedule it out, but they do often run a little bit more costly. HR support can come from a variety of services. Again, there are contractors and providers, depending on the size of your employment and how big of a team you plan to build. It can be worth to have HR support on hand. They'll help you recruit and retain and train staff, and an HR person can often take the lead instead of a lawyer when it comes to staying in compliance with employment law, and they can make a strategy for your business as well. Staff make a huge difference for a lot of our business owners, especially for those that are going to have physical spaces or that need other hands on deck to make the business possible. Hiring staff and recruiting staff is expensive. So maintaining them and thinking about retention can actually help with long-term savings as well. Investing in teams, making sure they have what they need. And even if it's starting out with a few employees, having some of these processes in place can make it easier to keep them on deck. I said it at the beginning of the presentation, and I'll emphasize it again. Your time is also money. It is your most valuable resource, and it is a limited resource. If you don't have to always be in the business or making the product for the business or doing all the behind the scenes work for the business, that gives you time to work on the business, to focus on some of these other investments, or to spend some of your time and energy on the networking and expansion. That does require investing in staff, but again, your time is a limited resource, and it's important to value it. Retention with staff also includes having longer term plans. Are your staff going to always be seasonal? Do you have some critical core team members that are starting to age out or think about retirement or cutting back on hours? Do you know of staff that are looking for that next role and are planning to leave your team? Having a pipeline and a recruitment strategy or even a training for the staff you already have is a low-cost way to be prepared for these changes in your business. And staff is an expensive resource, and I don't want to discount that. So I'll also flag that for many of you, there are other pipelines that could still help you with some of your capacity without breaking the bank for your business. College interns are often seeking experiential or college credit to work in your industry or field. Some of our Chicago public high schools have work-study programs where they are getting paid, but not out of your accounts. And there's also summer programs run by the city and other partners where they're just trying to get younger individuals out into real world experiences. So keep those in mind if you know you're going to need some additional staff, but you're maybe not at the point yet where you can hire a full-time person to help out. So, as I mentioned earlier, I am the director of the Uptown Business Center, which is one of 8 Chicago business centers located throughout the city of Chicago. We regionally cover the entire city, so there should be one close to you and your home or where you want to run your business. As the Chicago Business Center program, we are funded by the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, who's running this webinar today. And our entire focus is to ensure that business support is easily accessible by all of our small business owners and entrepreneurs. More than anything, I'll highlight that all services provided by Chicago Business Center partners are free for your business. So this is still an investment, and think of us as team members on your business, but it happens to be one where there's no upfront cost required by you. We can be strategic thought partners. We can, again, talk about digital marketing strategies, where to make those investments if you're not going to be able to invest in all your team members. We have a large referral network that includes all of the team members I covered today. So again, if you're looking for technological support, if you need a sign person to establish or create your sign, if you're going to do work on your business and need contractors, if you foresee a small business loan being in the future, if you want bookkeeping and support, the Chicago Business Centers can all help refer to partners that we've had good experiences with and that we trust as a valuable investment for you and your business. At the core, our main service is helping all of you to apply for Chicago business licenses. That includes collecting all the needed information, ensuring that you're legally able to operate your business where you want to, helping you with any sort of questions you might have about the process, and again, providing those referrals. For anyone wanting to start a business in the city or to add a new business activity, we can help you with the various licensing documents you're going to need. We can help you form your legal entity, secure an EIN number, your IDOR number, which is the Illinois Department of Revenue for sales taxes. We can help you with an initial zoning check for where you want to run your business. We can help you prep for inspections when inspections are required for your business license application, other documents that might come up, and can help you with license renewals. If you've already been in business and a renewal is coming up and you're not sure how to navigate that process, consider us a resource for that process as well. As I mentioned earlier, we can also help with other permits and licensing that are involved with your business, such as those sidewalk cafe permits, public way use permits, sign permit applications, and other things where you need city approval or you need to navigate the city processes in order to move forward in your business processes. I'll also host that the Chicago Business Centers host free programming and trainings throughout the year. The Uptown Business Center, which I run, will have 2 trainings in May that will directly relate to some of the services I talked about today. On May 12th, we're going to have a Search Engine Optimization 101 event, which is all about targeting local search engine optimization so that you come up more often when people are searching for your business type and how to be more competitive online. And then on May 28th, we're going to be hosting a bookkeeping workshop. So for those of you that are kind of trying to figure out whether or not hiring a bookkeeper makes sense for you, or if you want a better grasp about bookkeeping for your business, Bookkeeping 102 is another free workshop that the Uptown Business Center is hosting this month. There was a lot of information covered today, and you can see some of the other services we provide in terms of our referral network on the screen. But don't hesitate to reach out to me to learn about any of these other Chicago Business Center services that we mentioned today. I'm happy to talk to you directly and be a thought partner and someone to brainstorm with. And if you're looking for the business center closest to you, you can also email me and I'll make sure you're directly connected to the right referral partner for the Chicago Business Center program. So I know we covered a lot today and I want to leave plenty of time for questions. Would love to open it up to questions now, and I'll just say it can be questions about what you might want a team member for or what type of referral might make sense. If it's something that I can answer, I'm happy to talk about any of those licensing questions or lending partners. And I also have my email on the screen. So U as in Uptown, B as in business, C as in center, ubc@exploreuptown.org if you want to connect with me directly. And the website on the screen, exploreuptown.org/UBC, is where you can see recordings and handouts from our other previous free training events and where you can get the most updated information about upcoming free trainings and workshops from our office. Yeah, I would love to open it up to questions if anyone has any.
First question, what about for purchase of commercial space instead of renting for space?
Yeah, of course. So a real estate broker is also going to make sense if you're purchasing. I would say that's even more important to get a sense of market trends. Are the mortgage rates at a rate right now where it makes sense for you? And I think that's a variety of team members. An attorney will help you with negotiating that process as well. And for most people, they will need some sort of business loan to acquire property. I'll also note that the SBA loans that I mentioned, that most of the major banks in the city also have those programs. There are specific SBA loans for property acquisition.
How can we get in touch
Yeah.
on the information for real estate help?
Yeah, feel free to email me. My email's here, ubc@exploreuptown.org. Depending on the real estate support you're looking for, we have a variety of real estate brokers and commercial real estate attorneys that we can refer you towards. Even if you want regional specific help, we can also connect you with the other business centers. So don't hesitate to reach out. We have a referral network for all of the team members I mentioned today.
Next question. I have a question about real estate costs. Are there recommendations for the percentage of an anticipated income recommended to devote to those costs?
That's a great question. I would say that that's twofold. That's talking to your financial team, whether it's your banker, and talking to the real estate brokers. There are a lot of commercial properties available right now, and it's a wide range of costs for it. Talk to your banker first, look at with your, with a bookkeeper can get you, provide your statements and projections, and you can get a sense of what's possible. You definitely always want extra cash on hand. So if the properties you're looking at are going to be the majority of your financing, I would say that that's worth taking a beat. But we also know that a lot of your business types require physical space, and we can help you navigate the right amount of square footage. Because oftentimes, a little bit less square footage than you initially were looking for can reduce your costs, if nothing else.
I am opening a laundromat. Do I need workers when I first open?
So that is a personal preference. That's the type of business where you will need someone on hand, depending on how the laundromat is set up. So maybe it's you to start. I'd say a lot of our small business owners are their first employee. It's once you get to a point where you have enough income to bring other staff in, that's both just so you don't have to always be in the business in terms of you going out and growing the business. But burnout is real for small business owners too. And if you have to always be there for the business to be successful, that's going to increase your risks of burnout or not being able to get out and about. So I would say, depending on the size, if you can be there by yourself, it's totally fine to start with you as your only employee. A lot of businesses do that because then it gives you a chance to bring in some more income for the business before you start investing in that next level of team member.
Insurance, is liability the best for me because I am the painter and I don't have employees right now?
Yeah, I would say pretty much every business should have some form of liability insurance. For the person asking about painting, feel free to connect with us. That's when an insurance broker and an insurance agent will make a lot of sense. There are so many sub tiers of insurance that, depending on your business type, liability probably makes the most sense for you, but maybe there are other plans for the truck to get to your different clients or for your product if something were to happen. But I would say pretty much every business type will want some form of liability insurance. It's a worst case scenario protection plan, but we also know that we are in a society where lawsuits do happen, and you want to make sure you're prepared in the instance that those things happen.
Um, is there help for new startup businesses and services to help get them from open to start to finish?
100%. So that is at its core what the Chicago Business Centers are there for. Even if you just have the idea of, I think I want to start a painting business, or hey, what would it take to open a laundromat business in the city? That is the point of where Chicago Business Center makes sense. We often say we're like the first line of defense for our small business owners. You can come to us with just an idea, or you've started the process, or you're trying to find a space, wherever you're at in your journey. We will start by letting you know everything required for you to be legally operating in the city of Chicago. Let's say you're at the point where you're ready for space. We can refer you to a real estate broker. We can provide a list of available leasings in our area. That's a great place to start to give you a sense of the costs and the availability at the current moment. And if it gets to the point where we need the alderman to sign off, or where you need a loan, or where you're ready to talk to a chamber of commerce, we can refer you to those variety of partners. So definitely consider us as a great starting point all the way up until opening your business. And I work with plenty of business owners who have been in operation for years, but are ready to take that next step, or still need to navigate things like sign permits, public way use, the various types of licensing that are required in the city.
What license will you need for nonprofit besides filing for a 501(c)(3)?
Yes. So nonprofits are unique in that if just it's an office and you're running a nonprofit, that is not something that requires a Chicago business license. The big caveat asterisk there is if you're doing anything else, let's say you're preparing or serving food, if you're running a raffle for fundraising, any additional activity will require a city business license. So I would say feel free to email me at the email on the screen or your local business center, and we can talk through whether or not additional licensing beyond the 501(c)(3) status is required.
I need that kind of support and mentorship. I've created a business plan, and that's as far as I've gotten in taking this class to learn more. I'm ready to turn, it's moving. I'm ready to turn my idea into a reality. Can I reach out for more support and guidance?
100%. That's what we're here for. We can help you review your business plan. We can set you up with a mentor to some of our partners, and we can help you take that next step. So that is a perfect example of someone who's ready to connect with the Chicago Business Center.
Does my business need to be in Uptown to ask for help from your office, or should we refer to our closest location?
Absolutely not. Anyone is welcome to reach out to me, and I will state that there's 8 Chicago business centers, so we all have fairly large service areas. My technical main service area is the entire northeast side of the city, from Division through Howard and the river to the lake. I often meet with people throughout the city, and then if you need additional services, I can make sure you're referred to someone close to you, whatever's most convenient. But there are 8 business centers that cover the entirety of the city. So there is at least one that directly covers your service area, but you do not need to be in Uptown to connect with me directly.
Looks like, let me look in the Q&A box. You mentioned disability as a mandatory type of insurance. Is this a state of Illinois, city of Chicago, or other type of requirement?
I believe that one's pretty standard federally, but any business operating in the city will have that requirement. For the scope and like how much of the various insurance policies you need, that's a question for an insurance provider and or your HR support team. Those things do change, but the base insurance is required for everyone, and that's been the standard for a while.
You mentioned disability as a mandatory type of insurance. Is this, oh, I'm sorry, I read that. As a business that feeds homeless communities, what is the process of getting land for community centers? Where would I start this process?
You can definitely come to us first because I would say that's twofold. We can help you find the right real estate broker for what you're looking for. We can start with our search, and depending on if the food is going to be prepared in-house, that'll change the type of space you will be required to operate within. And we can help you strategize how to reduce the costs as much as possible. Because unfortunately, some of the requirements for food preparation, it's actually the infrastructure that a space needs where the costs get really expensive. So that would be an example where you're going to want to find a space that previously was licensed to serve food, and we can help with that.
And I'm opening a dance hall for young people for their social activities. Do you all assist with that?
Absolutely. So that sounds like it's going to be what's required of a public place of amusement license. It's a little bit trickier, but by no means an impossible process. We can definitely get you started with that and figure out other licenses that might be required and what spaces you could operate from.
What type of assistance do you offer for someone who wants to start a community garden?
So that's a similar process that like licensing and requirement might be different, but I will say we have a large referral partner network, including folks who have started community gardens. And so that's a great example of how we can get you started, but for more technical support or just to hear from someone else who's done a similar license, we can help connect you with folks there as well.
We still have time for a few more questions. You can put them in the chat box.
I'm looking for another example.
And while we're waiting, I'll flag that Sarah from my team put a link into all 8 business centers. If you're interested to one closer to you, you can definitely reach out to any of them. But again, you can always come to me. And if it makes sense for a different region, I'm happy to connect you directly as well.
Um, I am building a solo business where I plan to launch an AI research synthesis tool for special education. Would there be any grants available? You can help me find some.
Yes, so I will say that the business centers can help you with grant searches. If you're interested in joining our newsletter, let me know and I can add you. We try to include new grants each month. Grants are a little bit less common right now than they were at the peak of COVID federal, state, local resources, but we can definitely do an intake, look at what grants are out there, and can also help you decide if and when a loan might make more sense. So we can definitely help with the initial grant search, absolutely.
Today's webinar covers your legal category, marketing, and business operations and licensing. Keep seeing this grants thing come up. Can you all put the grant link in the chat? They're asking about the grant link.
Yeah, so it's not as much like one link to go to everywhere. If you go to our website, which is on the screen, exploreuptown.org/UBC, I'll drop that in the chat. We have some current grants listed on our website. I'd recommend the Women's Business Development Center has a pretty consistently updated grant list, and then the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Depending on your business, you might be able to go for more niche grants that are out there. So you can definitely reach out to us and we can help with that. But as a general starting point, some of those links can help for an overview. And then there are many grants services that charge a fee. So the ones I just listed are free resources that list grants. For some of your entities, especially those of you that are seeking nonprofit grant support, it might be worth investing in those grant watches or other paid services. Great, thank you, Sarah. It's just dropped the WBDC link to grants. So it depends, but the ones I listed are all free, and that's a great starting point. And I'll also flag the website link I just dropped, exploreuptown.org/UBC. A big part of grant applications is being competitive. So a lot of them are going to require more than just plug and chugging your basic information. At exploreuptown.org/UBC, you will find free slides from a presentation we did about grant management and how to competitively apply for grants. For a lot of you on the call, based on your questions, that might be a great next resource for you. So again, that's a free presentation available on our website, exploreuptown.org/UBC, that provides some best practices when it comes to keeping track of grant opportunities and how to make sure you're standing out and competitive when applying for grants.
Is your office near the Loop or Greektown area?
So the Uptown Business Center is located at the Uptown United offices. So we are in Uptown, but we are easily accessible off the Wilson Red and Purple Line L stop and the Sheridan, Broadway, Clark, Wilson bus lines. And we do provide fully remote consultations. So we can provide virtual meetings or phone call consultations if it's not like an easy, convenient trip for you. So we are easily accessible off of transit, and then there are other business centers that will more directly cover the Loop as well, and I can provide referrals to that.
If I'm going to acquire an existing Chicago business, can you help me navigate that process?
Absolutely. So another team member I did not mention on the slides because it's less common, but there are business brokers that help to evaluate the true cost of a business. And where we can help is a lot of times the value of purchasing a business isn't just the client role or the physical materials, it's purchasing the existing business license itself. And there are specific rules you have to follow there. So yes, if you're on the fence about purchasing a business or just want some more help, that is definitely a service we can step in for.
How does the city of Chicago determine business centers for other areas in the city?
So the 8 Chicago business centers are grantees from the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. So we all had to apply. And then the 8 centers were also chosen for regional coverage. So that web link to all the business centers was listed in the chat, but you can also reach out to us. There is one in every main like geographic region of the city. And then, like I said, if you want to meet with us and you're not super close to our office, I'm happy to do a phone call consultation or a virtual, like a video call like this.
What kind of information would I need to get those insights about business acquisitions? I have access to all the tax documents.
So that's a great start. I'd say you can book a consultation with us, but you'd want not just tax documents over the last few years, if they've got cash flow, balance sheets, if there's any debts or other things that have come up with the property, you'd want a full inventory. So are they selling just the name to the business or the business license? Is there property involved? Is there a client list involved? You want as much information about what you're purchasing and the current health of the business. And then that's where there are attorneys that specialize in this and there are business brokers that we can help do a search for referrals. But tax documents is a great start, but you want more information about the current status of the business, current projections, and if there's any other historical information that might be relevant. And I'd include also a full accounting of all the products currently held by the business. And again, consumer information, existing clients, those are all values that you can purchase as well. And you want to get a full understanding of what you're getting into. And you would also want to make sure that the business entity is not involved in anything that you purchasing it or getting yourself involved in. Lawsuits, debts, etc.
If I have an interest in a school that was closed, how do I find that list of school closures?
That is not our specialty with schools. I would reach out to your local alderman to start.
We have a few minutes for questions, probably like 3 more questions.
And while we're waiting on questions, I'd also say again, all of our intake appointments, all of our consultations are free. If you're on the fence and you're not sure a business center makes sense for you, or you're looking for another resource, please don't hesitate to email, reach out. This is truly what I spend my days doing, so I'm happy to talk to anyone to help them figure out if we're the right fit or if another referral makes sense. A lot of our day-to-day is referring folks to other providers, and when possible, we try to go for low cost or free. And if we are going to refer you to a paid service, we refer to folks that we trust are worth the value.
You are receiving a lot of thank yous.
Thanks all.
How long would it take to get a mentor?
So we refer to a couple partners, including SCORE, and that process is a pretty fast turnaround. One of the nice things about that referral we provide is that they do their best to match you to someone who's in a similar industry, and that can be a pretty quick turnaround. You can also specify if you'd prefer to meet with someone locally. There's a very large Chicago chapter, but you can also meet with folks around the country. Depending on your specialty, it might make more sense to meet with somebody in another part of the country who's worked in your business. So that is pretty fast.
How can I be added to your newsletter?
Absolutely. At exploreuptown.org/UBC. The very top link at the website is join our newsletter to hear about grants and our free trainings. So that's the easiest way to sign up for our newsletter. And if you also want to just email me at ubc@exploreuptown.org and say, please add me to the newsletter, I'll be happy to do that as well. But there is a link at the very top of the website listed where you can fill in your information to be added to our newsletter. At that website, you'll also see the bookkeeping and SEO free trainings I mentioned as well. And you can register for those events on that website as well.
Can you put that email in the chat, please?
Absolutely.
And do you provide help with fundraising?
Absolutely. Like, depending on your strategy, I'd say consider us an initial thought partner. And then depending on the investments you want to make or the services you're looking for, that's again where we can step in as a referral partner. And one of our main services is that digital marketing. We can audit your website, like, about tweaks that'll make you more competitive online. We can assist with your Google Business profile creation. We can help take photos to boost more content for your site. Those things all help with fundraising and marketing at its core, because those are things that just make you more competitive online. And so consider us a great first stop, free resources. And then when you're ready for that next step, we can refer you out to other partners.
Okay, that we look like we don't have any more questions. Just a lot of thank yous. Do you have any final thoughts or words?
Thank you all so much for joining today. Excited to see all of you that are thinking about investing in your small business. I'll just say again, when in doubt, consider us a first stop on your small business journey. We can be a thought partner. We can talk about those licensing processes. And if we can't provide the service you're looking for, there's a very good chance we have a referral partner that we trust that we can refer you to keep you going. So thank you all so much for your time today. And thanks again to BACP for hosting me.
If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, your account will reflect your attendance today within 24 hours. To learn about that program, please visit chicago.gov/BACP certificate. Today's webinar was recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Chicago BACP. Thank you, and everyone have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone.